Oh,
What
bet,
is your
bet, bet.
all-time favorite movie? Marvel movies are never going to be on the list, even if you really enjoyed those movies. So let's break this down and explore just why this is. The first thing to look at is that this game is called Dragon Age: The Veilguard and is a direct sequel to the previous title, Dragon Age: Inquisition. By being set in this universe, there's the immediate expectation that it'll work within the
I'll
established
take
framework
care
of
of
the
this.
series. This includes being an RPG, dark fantasy storytelling, complex narrative, branching storylines, a party system, among other things. So when you hear someone say they don't like the character models, it's because they're clashing with the whole concept of the dark fantasy setting. Dragon Age is gritty and gut-wrenching, but when you're met with character trim,
What can I say? Guess we all love to fight.
instantly.
Time is wasted.
Series
Let's
almost
hurry
every
up and end
aspect of
this.
game, not just the character models. Whereas what you were expecting from Dragon Age is that
Give me everything you got back.
narratively, as fans come into these titles expecting branching options, abundance of choice, player agency, critical, really difficult decision-making, and impactful consequences. And unfortunately, the Veilguard feels like a more streamlined version of someone else's playthrough of Dragon Age. That is to say, the dialogue options available were clearly meant for one specific type of player who would regularly select those options given the choice. However, very rarely did these ever resonate with myself and what I wanted to do. By comparison, Baldur's Gate 3 has gone far out of its way to make every possible choice available to you, and that game was clearly heavily influenced by the previous series. And this issue is further exacerbated by the writing. As we pointed out in our Dragon Age
That's still
Origins
alive.
video
Be there,
recently,
bro.
the Bioware team spent 2 years creating those roles and creating the characters before determining the plot and writing out a story for the original title. The Veilguard is a typical case of new or different writers taking on a story they didn't write themselves and trying to finish the story in a very different style. The tone and targets of Veilguard don't match the concepts of the base material, but they struggle to deliver a story for you via dialogues because there is an inherent disconnect between the world that Veilguard inhabits and the tone it wishes to convey. What I mean by this is Dragon Age is a
Damn, I used the wrong
fantasy
thing.
with 2024 copy slang and language that is almost instantly immersion breaking whenever you hear
I'll
it.
send you to the next world with this. Ultra Big Bang.
Oh,
Companions in
I
Dragon
wonder how
Age
this
have
gonna
always
go.
been one of the highlights of the weapons that's been one of Bioware's biggest strengths over the years, not only in this
Oh,
game,
really?
but also with Mass Effect. However, in Veilguard, it
Oh,
was extremely difficult
that's
to
fucked
form a
up.
personal connection with them
Oh,
because of the way they
they're
were
Apex
written.
tripping now. I
That's
mean,
not to say there were no
Grandma's
moments I
tripping
didn't
now, bro.
enjoy because there were. It's just
Bruh.
that these were
That's how
so
Devontae did me, but
the
with
lack of
Barris.
character
That
depth or
Barris made
development
more
for
sense
companions
than
led to
that
me not
shit.
really caring what happened to them or what choices I made with them.
Yeah,
Choices,
they
by the way, that
tripping.
seem to be really rewarding that
I
much
give you
in the
that
grand scheme of
dub.
things after having seen
Hell
multiple endings
nah,
myself.
cause shit.
Narrative and writing aside, the core of any game is its
That should have been
gameplay
your
loop, which is
dub,
the
not
combination of
mine.
mechanics, combat, character progression, and
Stop
other
that.
systems.
I
Here
had
is
to
where I
clip
enjoyed
that
Dragon Age
shit.
Veilguard the
Guess
most
we
out of
all
every
love
other
to
aspect,
fight.
Hell
which is something
no.
that we mentioned in our
Time is
hands-on
wasted.
preview
They
My
of
gave that
Dragon
shit
cousin,
to
Age
man.
Bardock.
Origins. The combat of Veilguard appeared to have a very solid foundation with large skill trees that allow for varied playstyles, dynamic movement and functions for the player character, and loot systems that do and can enhance and strengthen builds. I found myself looking forward to combat in the Veilguard even with its other issues, and it quickly became the strongest aspect of the title aside from its stunning landscapes and the performance of the game as a whole. Unfortunately, the further I progressed into the Veilguard, the more I started to realize that combat, while flashy and fun, which it was, had very little depth with the banal enemy designs that were repeated over and over. Most enemies and bosses were just copies of others I'd already fought, and most would just do 1 or 2 attacks or stand there and do nothing. A lot of this is hidden behind the number of enemies that the Veilguard throws at you at once and behind phenomenal class abilities that are over the top satisfying and feel great, so
That
that you
might
can
actually hit
actually
me.
see with your eyes what the enemies are doing in a
Cause I
very
was powering
smoke
up.
and mirror style of way. Eventually, this did begin to wear on me as a combat enthusiast and someone who loves to tinker with
Bardock
multiple
kinda
playstyles, and
cold
I
though.
began to think my time engaging in this tinkering of sorts, which I did enjoy immensely to that point, was wasted because I was not being challenged by interesting enemies. Leveling up in Dragon Age Veilguard entails moving skill points into your skill tree, but it seems like you have no other real customization of your character beyond the equipment assigned to use. This streamlining is nice for those looking for an RPG lane experience, but will likely not satisfy many fans. Itemization is a bit of a sore point for me in this title as well because you're not really
Ah, I missed
rewarded
it.
for exploration, and at the same time, all you feel like you're doing is looting. There is so much loot in Veilguard that you have to constantly stop to pick it all up, and while most of it is just currency or crafting materials, those with OCD or
Yeah,
FOMO like
Bardock
me
kinda
feel
cold.
obligated to do so, which becomes
Gave you a fun
frustrating
fight.
while rarely
Now I see why
unrewarding.
them nigga pros using his
Exploration of the game
ass.
world